Yeah, Jen, we're recording now. Great. So, hello, museum families, and welcome to RBCM at Home, kids, a play date through screens across British Columbia and the world. The previous sessions are recorded and you can find them on our Royal BC Museum YouTube page. So my name is Chris O'Connor, and I'm a learning program developer at the Royal BC Museum. The museum and my home is on the territory of the Lekwungen-speaking people, the Songhees and Esquimalt nations, here in Victoria on Vancouver Island. I'm an uninvited guest on this territory and grateful to live, learn, and raise a family on this land. So last week we visited our friends at Two Rivers Gallery in Prince George. Today we travel to another part of the province, Kelowna, in the Okanagan, a beautiful city and a beautiful part of the province. Though the people in the landscape are lovely, what we have our eye on today are bats. These fascinating creatures are a little bit mysterious, but Jen Garner from the Kelowna Museums will help us better understand them, and especially understand how they hear and how they use their hearing and their sounds to travel around. But first I wanted to, like we do most weeks, I just want to go back to what we did last week. So I'm going to share my screen. Last week, as I said, we traveled to Prince George to there we go. To the Two Rivers Gallery, and we met with Brianna Sadler. And we made a really interesting, like super fascinating activity called flex tangles or fidget spinners, DIY, do-it-yourself fidget spinners. Just with a piece of paper and scissors, make this sort of magical paper fidget spinner. So we did that last week. We probably won't have art activities, but if you want to share anything with us today or some reflections from today or anything, feel free to share with me. There's my email address, coconnor@royalbcmuseum.bc.ca, or share through our social channels at Royal BC Museums or hashtag RBCM Kids or at Kelowna Museums. Keep exploring after both our website and also the Kelowna Museum's website, and also our learning portal here at the Royal BC Museum. You could Google Learning Portal and Royal BC Museum. Lots of really interesting things to explore. And just to let you know, we have a camp at the end of August called Design, Refine, Define, all about 3D printing and prototyping and design. And next week, just to give you a heads up, we're going to be painting the ocean you want to see with rain. So it'll be a painting activity, envisioning the kind of ocean environment that we want to see, and try to make that happen through art making. All right, so that's that part. So in this format, you'll see me, your host, and our special guest. Today we have Jen. Hello, Jen. Though we can't see you, we can hear from you if you use the Q&A box or the comments section if you're watching on Facebook Live. So please feel free to ask questions as we go along. And heads up, we'll be doing an activity today, so for part of the time. So what you'll need is some yarn about 4 feet in length, a metal spoon and a ruler. But remember, we record these sessions, so if you don't have materials right now, not a problem. You can watch this now, and then again later when you do have them. Just make sure you do things at your own pace and you be kind to yourself. Okay, so let's meet our special guest today. So today we're joined by Jen Garner. Jen is the head of programming at the Kelowna Museums. And we're so happy to have you here, Jen.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me.
And I'm here in Victoria, but there are people visiting from all over the province. So if they haven't been to Kelowna and they haven't been to the Kelowna Museum, can you give them a little sense of what is Kelowna like, and can you tell us a little bit about the Kelowna Museums?
Sure. So Kelowna is a medium-sized city in sort of the south central part of the province. And we are on Lake Okanagan. People might know the word Ogopogo as our sort of mysterious lake being. The stories of Ogopogo have been told for thousands of years, and I will do my very best pronunciation of the true name, which would be Nahahiku, which is the Siilk spirit of the lake. So that is one of the famous things about Kelowna. And the Kelowna Museum Society, we have 3 museums all down one street in downtown Kelowna. So right now I'm in the Okanagan Heritage Museum. We have the Okanagan Military Museum, and then we also have the Wine and Orchard Museum. So all 3 of these museums together share the stories and the histories of the people and the place of the Okanagan Valley.
Right.
Now, we are situated on the traditional unceded territory of the Siilk people. I'm very grateful to be here, and I'm grateful for all of the teachings that the Siilk people have shared with me and the museum staff and everybody who lives here on this territory.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you for that. And so you're in the museum that you're in right now, there's a special exhibit. There's the permanent galleries, which are also changing. It seems that each time I go to Kelowna, they're a little bit different and getting like updated all the time. But then there's the special exhibition, which is behind you, right?
That's right, yes. So as you mentioned, our permanent galleries, which we could almost say semi-permanent, but you can come back and explore those time and again, which there's so much to see, you'll want to come back a couple times to explore those. And then this pretty large gallery that's behind me here, it completely changes about every 3 months. So the topic, the objects that we share, the stories that we share. So every 3 months you can come back and explore something completely different. And it's a variety of exhibitions that we create in-house, or that we traveling exhibitions from other museums around the province and across Canada that we bring in. So there's always
some of the Royal BC Museum traveling exhibitions happen.
Well, the one once Bats goes away in I think it's in about a month and a half, we have our living languages coming from the Royal BC Museum. So that's going to be up in this space at the end of September. So we're really excited about that one. Which
was in Prince George not that long ago. So we're doing the same travel around the province.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
So of course, what we have here right now is Bats Out of the Darkness. And so this was created by us here with tons of help from all kinds of partners and bat experts and knowledge carriers from across the province. So it was an enormous effort, a group effort to put this together. And once this comes down here, it's actually going to be traveling around the province as well. And so this exhibition, we are looking at bat species specifically that live in British Columbia. There's 15 species that live in British Columbia. And why it's called Out of the Darkness, because so many people, there are so many myths about bats that have caused a lot of people to fear bats. Yeah. And so we are bringing those myths out of the darkness. We are bringing you the truth about bats. And there is no reason to fear bats, but there's every reason to celebrate bats. And that's what we're doing with this exhibit.
Why do you think there has been that sort of mythology of fear around bats?
Do you know, there are the stories that have, for centuries, there have been the scary stories that feature bats. And I think a lot of that has to do with what they look like and the fact that they're nocturnal. Yeah. And in a lot of cases, nocturnal animals, we don't know as much about nocturnal animals as we do with the diurnal animals. And so there's that.
Just for some kids might know that, but what do you mean by nocturnal and diurnal?
Of course, so nocturnal animals that are awake and out at night when we're all sleeping, as opposed to the diurnal ones like us, unless we're teenagers.
Right.
That we're asleep at night and awake during the day. So of course,
I have a teenager, so I can attest to that.
Yeah. So of course, those animals that are awake at the same time as we are, we tend to know more about them. The ones that come out at night, especially the flying ones, we don't know as much about them. So there's all of those myths. There's the scary stories. There, of course, a lot of people, when they hear bats, they think vampire bats.
Mm-hmm.
And so that just feeds into all these myths. And when people believe all of these scary things, they don't care for the bats, they don't learn how incredibly important they are to our environment and our ecology and even our economy. And, you know, they might not do anything to help the bats.
Mm-hmm. So economy. So what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so this, do you know, I better pause here for a moment and say that I am not a bat expert by any means, shape, or form. So I am not the bat expert. In fact, before we put this exhibition together, I knew very little about bats. And I believed a lot of those myths that are out there about bats. Mm. And in putting this exhibition together and learning, I am now a bat enthusiast. Hey. And the economy thing was something I had never thought about before. So all bats in BC are insectivores. So all of our BC bats eat insects. Mm. And by eating all of those insects, they are saving farms and orchards, both from spraying pesticides and from all of the money that it costs to get rid of those insect pests in an unnatural way. So the farmers, the orchardists, the agriculturalists, they love the bats. Mm-hmm. So that's what I mean by the economy. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a dollar amount for Canada, but I did find a dollar amount for the USA that they say that because of bats, they're actually saving their agriculturalists $23 billion a year in pest control. Which I should have asked you to guess the number before I told you. Yeah, right. I don't think you would have guessed $23 billion.
I would not have guessed $23 billion. Yeah.
So if nothing else.
Do farmers intentionally put out bat boxes to help support a bat community around their farms? Is that something that happens?
I don't know if they would intentionally do that. And the thing about bat boxes is bat boxes are fantastic, but you really have to do your research before you put a bat box up, because very few bats that live in BC actually like bat boxes. Mm. So there's a few different of the species that if you put a bat box, they'll go live in it, but a lot of the others won't. So for an individual farmer or orchardist, you know, they would have to do research of what kind of bats mainly live around their land and whether or not those bats will actually live in the bat boxes. Mm. So a different thing that they could do is leave large trees around. Mm. So a lot of the bats actually really like the large trees, even ones that they look half dead, and there's lots of kind of scraggly bits and lots of bark, and that's where a lot of the bats will roost. So instead of cutting down those trees, leave some of them up. Mm-hmm. It's a natural bat box.
Like our sign for today.
I like it. Did you draw that yourself?
No, my kid does the
really
sign
good. It's really good.
The teenager who's nocturnal.
Yeah.
Will we be able to see some of the exhibition?
Yeah, so there's a couple things that I'd like to do with you today. I'd like to introduce you to a couple of really cool bats.
Yeah, please.
I have some pictures to show you, and then I'm going to show you some bat specimens that we have on loan from the Batty Biodiversity Gallery. And I'm going to attempt to do that carrying my laptop and try not to make you seasick.
Okay.
As I move around, because the specimens are really cool and they're really worth seeing. Yeah. And then I have a couple of other treats as we do kind of a mini tour of this exhibition.
We'll just imagine that we're bats following you around, flying beside you. So. Okay.
And I always give bats thumbs up because they're so good for our environment. So should we meet a couple of these bats?
Yeah, let's.
So bat species make up 20% of all of the animal species on our planet. There are about 1,400-ish different kinds of species around the world. So they add a lot to the biodiversity of our planet. Now in Canada, there's 18 species. 15 of those live in BC. And of course, I'm in the Okanagan Valley. 14 of them live in the Okanagan Valley, which is huge biodiversity. And there's one bat that you're going to meet that the only place in the world it lives in is the Okanagan Valley.
Oh.
So let me show you a couple. Now, when you see the bat faces, you might think it's a face that only a mother could love. I kind of think they're cute. So here is a big brown bat. What do you think? Is it adorable?
That's adorable.
Or a face only a mother could love? Adorable.
There's something about the ears that make it especially adorable, I think.
I agree. So this is one of the biggest bats in BC, and they live all over the province, more or less, because they can live in lots of different kinds of habitats. They'll live in grasslands, they will live in coastal forest, they'll also live in interior forest. So they're really adaptable to different environments. And these bats eat one insect every 3 seconds when they're out hunting. So that means sensing it, catching it, chewing it, and swallowing it every 3 seconds. And they really
That's a busy bat.
Exactly. Can you imagine? Just constant. And they really like something called cucumber beetles. And cucumber beetles are a huge orchard pest. So they eat hundreds and hundreds and thousands of cucumber beetles. So that's really, really good for the orchards.
So I would imagine that they are eating things that are flying around, but are you saying that they also eat things that are on the ground or on?
They don't really land on the ground, so they're going to eat things that are in the air.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so this one, okay, I love this one. It's kind of beautiful in a way. So this one's called a hoary bat, and the name comes from the color of the fur. So it's camouflaged bark. So it has a lot of sort of gray and white and some brown, and they're really well camouflaged. And their fur, you see how thick that fur is? That keeps them warm when they hibernate.
Kim says that it looks like a sloth. I was thinking it looks like a hedgehog or an owl.
It kind of does.
Like mixing a lot of different animals together.
Yeah, it does. You're right. I never thought about the hedgehog thing. It really does look like that. Now we're going to see a specimen of this one in a second, and it is big. These are the biggest ones in BC. And because they're so big, they eat big insects. So dragonflies, big beetles, June bugs, big moths. That's what they're mostly going to eat.
But they don't eat people, so we don't need to be worried about them, right?
They do not eat people, and they do not drink blood.
Right.
There are no bats in all of Canada that drink blood.
Right.
And even that is a myth. The ones that do, I don't even want to say drink blood. There are some bats in the world that will kind of prick almost like a mosquito and then lick a drop of blood. They do not live anywhere near us. Okay, let's do, okay, this is a special one.
Oh.
I know, right? This is called the pallid bat. It is one of the rarest animals in Canada. And it only lives in the Okanagan. That's the only place in the world this bat lives. They are considered endangered as well. So now,
have you seen one in the wild?
I've never seen one. No.
Not yet.
I would love to.
Yeah.
Now in the southern Okanagan, it's very desert-like. It's pretty hot. There are things like rattlesnakes and cacti that we associate with the desert. And these bats eat scorpions down in the southern Okanagan.
Yeah.
The scorpions are as big as they are. So they will pick up a scorpion, fly it back to their roost, and eat it there.
Wow.
And they are immune to the scorpion bites.
Wow.
And I think I'm going to show you one more here.
And obviously, we're noticing the very, very big ears, which I'm sure you'll talk about
We're
at the
definitely
end.
going to talk about that because, I mean, how can you not? Look at
Yeah.
that. So one more here, talking about big ears.
Yeah, wow. They keep getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, I actually didn't plan it like that. That was sort of a happy accident.
Right.
This appropriately is called the Townsend's big-eared bat.
Mhm.
You can see where it gets its name. And the ears are half the size of its body. And when they hibernate, their ears curl back and curl around their body to keep them.
Oh,
So we've got Townsend's big-eared. You can find these in a lot of places in the province. We have a lot of these in the Okanagan.
so
All right.
cute.
You ready to look at some
Yes,
specimens from the BD biodiversity?
for
Okay.
sure.
So as I do this, so we're gonna go right into the exhibition now. So you'll get kind of a little taste of what it looks like. And now these specimens, they're all in a case. And so I'm gonna do this kind of slowly and carefully, said trying not to give you seasickness as I move my laptop around.
Sure.
So let's see here. So I'm gonna get at some angles. So here we have our first one. That is the big brown bat. So it's one of the biggest, and they're found all over BC.
Mm.
Then we have the eastern red bat, and the coloring, it's really obvious. It's a really reddish colored bat. Okay, here we have a little guy. Let me see, can I get it there? The western small-footed meiosis. It's a teeny tiny one. They eat a lot of midges and mosquitoes. The silver-haired bat, so a medium-sized bat. How are those specimens coming through okay?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we could see it.
Wonderful. Okay, so we just saw the Townsend's big-eared.
And sorry, Jen, just going back to the silver-haired bat, you
Yes.
really see in the bottom of it how it's the sort of webbed foot. Is that like, I'm just looking at the bottom
Yeah,
and
so
it's kind
that's,
of pointed. It's an interesting,
it's neat, isn't it? It almost, I wish we could see that with the wings outspread because that is part of the wing.
yeah.
And the wings, they're really different from birds' wings because they're actually fingers with skin stretched between them.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're seeing there is actually skin that makes up the wing,
Right.
which is very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Here's the Townsend's big-eared from the side. I'm gonna see if you can get another angle and see the actual ears from the front.
Wow.
Okay.
And those eyes too.
And I'm gonna show you one more here. Actually, I'll show you two more. So here we have the biggest one in British Columbia. This is called the hoary bat. So we saw the picture and I talked about how that fur is camouflaged to bark. And it's pretty big. And then because it is the one that only lives in the Okanagan, the pallid bat, there it is. The one that eats scorpions.
So Jen, we have a comment on Facebook. Rhoda says that she just sits out and watches bats as like an activity, just to watch them. So is that something that happens in the Okanagan Valley as well? People do some bat watching?
Absolutely. And I actually have a bit of information I'm going to share with you about bat counts.
Uh-huh.
And
Right.
bat counts are a wonderful way that you can have fun, learn about bats, and also be a citizen scientist. Because BC Bats is actually asking us to do bat counts. So at my next stop, I actually have a little activity sheet that I can show you about how to do bat counts, and it's a really fun thing to do with your family.
Great.
So whoever that was that said that, yay for you. You're doing something really important for our BC bats. Okay. I wanted to talk a little bit about food, because that is a really big common. I'm going to put on my gloves here because that's such a
It is
common.
almost lunch too, so
Oh yeah. Well,
good
this
timing.
this might not make you hungry.
Right.
So this is a common misconception about bats, especially here in BC, that we hear they drink blood and they eat fruit.
Mm.
There are no bats here that eat either of those things. All of our bats in BC are insectivores, so they eat insects. So I have a specimen here from our collection to show you. This is a little brown myotis. And the reason I brought this one to show you is because, let me see here, look at those teeth.
Yeah.
Those are insectivore teeth. Oh, here, how's that angle? So those teeth probably don't help the myths of bats,
Right. I was gonna say that.
right? Because they are a little sharp and they could be a little scary looking, but these teeth are designed to crunch through the exoskeletons of insects.
Mm-hmm.
So insects don't have bones on the inside of their body like we do. They have the crunchy shell on the outside.
Mm.
And so these bats need to have those sharp teeth to crunch through those shells.
And crunch through pretty quickly too, right?
Absolutely, yeah, really quickly. And some of these bats, they eat, 600 or 1,000 mosquitoes an hour.
Mm.
So they are crunching through fast. So those teeth are not for biting us. They're for eating all of those mosquitoes. So how can you not give thumbs up to them eating all those mosquitoes? Because we don't want them.
You don't even have to be a farmer to appreciate that. Just be a camping,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. So isn't that a neat specimen there?
Hmm.
And I do have behind me some examples of some of the different insects that the bats will eat. So we have all kinds of moths. We have, sorry, this is a little awkward here. Beetles.
Are these specimens from the Beatty Biodiversity Museum as well, or from your collection?
These insects are from our collection.
Hmm.
And down in our permanent gallery, we have tons more.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in Kelowna or coming through the area, please stop by and have a look.
Yeah.
And of course, when we're talking about bat food and what they eat, we need to talk about bat poop too.
Of course.
Bat
scat.
Bat scat. So Chris, I don't know if you have found this, but since we started doing all of this virtual content in the last couple of months,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of wish I started a count on how many times on the internet in the past 5 months I've talked about animal poop.
Kids can't get enough of it.
Right? So I actually have some bat poop right here. So this is called guano. And this is what we call fertilizer gold. It is filled with nutrients. So because the bats eat all of these insects, the insects themselves are filled with the nutrients of the land. And so when that comes out and lands on the ground, it goes right back into the soil. So it's really good stuff. People collect this guano, the bat poop, and they sell it. They sell it to farmers and gardeners. It's really good stuff.
And I imagine if it's a roost of many bats, like within a tree, that there'd be a lot of it underneath the tree. So.
Yeah, definitely. And where bats roost in buildings, people will go in and collect the guano. Now, I am going to say, please do not do that unless you are a bat expert and you have all the right equipment. So please don't go and do that yourselves. But that is something that
Really for any animal.
Exactly, exactly. So they are wild animals. We don't get near them. Yeah, we don't
Watch them
disturb
from
them in
afar.
any way.
Yeah.
Now the guano here, it looks a lot like mice feces, but it's usually shinier because of the exoskeletons and the wings of all those insects. Kind of give it a shiny look. But that going back into the earth is fantastic fertilizer.
Nice. So Jen, we have about 5 minutes or so.
Oh, okay. All right. So then a couple of things that I'm going to share very, very quickly, and then I'm going to show you this really cool, simple activity that we can do at home. So why? Well, there are many reasons that we need to care about our bats. They're an important part of the biodiversity of our planet. They are natural pest control. They're part of the food chain. And there's something that's happening to bats in North America called white nose syndrome. And here we have a brown myotis, and you see that white on its nose? That is a fungus that's not supposed to be there. And what happens is that fungus grows on their faces when they're hibernating. And contrary to popular belief, bats are actually very clean. And so while they're hibernating, when that fungus grows on their face, they'll wake up and clean it off. And every time they wake up and clean it off, they're losing valuable fat stores in their body. And they might starve before the spring when all the insects come back out. So by doing bat counts, you can actually help scientists track where this is, and then hopefully they can preemptively help the bat colonies before they get white nose syndrome. So if you want to do a bat count, you can go to bcbats.ca, print off.
And actually, Kim did put that both in the chat room here in Zoom and on Facebook.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Kim. It's a wonderful website. And you can print off, they have a PDF of a bat count sheet. It's super fun to fill in with your family. It asks you to fill in things about the weather and the wind. And then when you get a counter, a clicker from the dollar store. You go to where you know there's bats roosting at sunset. And the first bat that comes out of the roost, you have to yell, "First bat." And then that's part of the rules.
Right.
And then you click and count the bats, fill in the sheet, and send it to BC Bats. And this helps them track where the bats are, how healthy the populations are, and you become a citizen scientist and do something great to help the bats. Now, I feel like I'm going fast. I'm very aware that we're running out of time.
No, that sounds great.
Okay. So we noticed the big ears. Bats have incredible hearing, and they have something called echolocation. And what that means is when they're flying around, I'm going to use a slinky here, they emit a chirping sound. Usually humans can't hear it. The chirping sounds, they go out, they hit an object, and the sound bounces back to the bat, and the bat knows what object it hit, what direction it's going in, and it can catch it to eat it.
And how far away from it is.
And how far away and everything. So the sound hits an object and bounces back, and then the bat will catch that insect. So that is sound waves that are bouncing off of objects. And so I found this super cool sound wave activity that you could do. It's so easy.
And I'm just thinking, Jen, because they're nocturnal and they fly around at night, that it's like that would be a useful thing if it's harder to see.
Exactly. That's exactly right. They need to use the sound waves instead of their eyesight. So for this really cool sound wave activity, cut, say, about 4 feet of yarn. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then right in the middle, tie a spoon, just like that. Now, sound waves will actually travel up the yarn into your ears. So all you have to do after you've tied it like that is hold the yarn just kind of right beside your ears there and get somebody to tap the spoon with a pencil or a ruler. And the sound waves will go up the yarn right into your ears. It's really neat. And then once you've got that done, try different size spoons, try different lengths of yarn, and experiment with those sound waves. And so that is an incredibly simple activity with stuff that you have at home that you can talk about sound waves and echolocation.
And I would imagine that the smaller the spoon, the higher the frequency. So like you could even kind of guess what spoon it is, or
Exactly.
like do kind of experimenting that way.
Yeah, that's exactly what you can do. We, in the museum here, we did it in our lunchroom yesterday and we were having a great time.
Oh, good. Nice.
Do we have any questions?
Not a question, but a comment from Sue. Says, Jen, you are so enthusiastic about bats, and a thumbs up.
Oh, thank you. And as I mentioned at the beginning, you know, before we put this exhibition together, I knew very little about bats. And now I think they are just the coolest things. So I'm really excited to share what I've learned with other people. And I hope that, you know, people will explore the BC Bats website. They'll go out and do bat counts in their community. They'll come here and check out this exhibition too.
So we had, Sue said that she's your mom.
Hi, Mom.
You didn't have to say that.
No, she could have just, you know, kept that under wraps, but that's okay.
Right.
My mom's here watching.
So just a final comment / maybe question from Rhoda on Facebook again. So they fly very fast. So I always think I could only see one bat flying around my home. And it's an interesting comment because sometimes if there's lots, it's hard to tell which one is which. And like, I imagine especially to do a bat count, it might be tricky. Maybe that's why it's helpful to have a whole family out there to have lots of eyes.
So I can give you a little tip about that. Yeah. And they do fly fast, and they fly, to us, it looks like they're flying erratically because they're sending out their sound waves and they're going with the cluster of mosquitoes or whatever it is that they're eating. So a trick is when you've got your counter, don't look at the bats that are flying around, look at them as they're exiting their roost. So as soon as one exits the roost, that's when you click your counter.
Right.
And then don't watch them all flying around because you'll confuse yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
It's either one or it's 1,000.
Exactly. Yeah.
Jen, thank you so much for spending time with us today. I feel more enthusiastic about bats, and also about the Kelowna Museums too. So you're open now. And what are your hours, or what are the days that you're open, just in case people are coming through Kelowna?
Sure thing. So we're closed on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Thursdays we're open noon to 8. So we have Thursday evenings available. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, we're open 10 to 5. So there's lots of different opportunities. We've changed our opening hours to better serve the public here. So you've got a few different opportunities like Thursday evenings to come and check it all out.
Great. Well, I definitely encourage everyone to do that. And also just to go to your website and find out more information about things as well. The question is, what is the name of the scorpion that they eat?
I have no idea.
Actually, we have a scorpion on our 100 objects of interest on our website that is a scorpion that's from the Okanagan.
Oh, okay.
Actually, people can go look at our online exhibition called 100 Objects of Interest, and that scorpion is highlighted there. So the name of it, I forget.
Okay, I see in the comment there, it's the name of the bat, not the scorpion. Is that right?
Oh, name of the bat who eats the scorpion. Sorry.
pallid bat, P-A-L-L-I-D, the pallid bat.
Right.
And that is that it's one of the rarest animals in all of Canada, and it only lives in the Okanagan, and it's endangered. So I said I definitely wanted to highlight that one because it's pretty special.
Okay.
And it eats scorpions. I mean, that's kind of crazy cool, right?
Totally. And we'll just end with a final comment from your mom, just that like when bats are come into your bedroom, that's fair for it to be like a little bit too much. We could love bats, but like in your bedroom is like maybe a little too much. So
I agree, Mom. In the bedroom is a little bit too much. So the best thing to do is to phone some kind of local pest control, and hopefully they will come immediately, and hopefully they have a safe way to get that bat out of your bedroom.
yeah. And that was last fall, not currently. So
Thank
she's
you,
doing
Mom.
it. All right. Well, thanks again, Jen.
Thank
So
you, Chris.
we'll,
I really enjoyed that. Thank you so much for inviting me to come on to your At Home with Kids and talk about bats with you.
yeah, thank you. So we'll end, Kim will end the Facebook live feed and the recording.